I feel like my calling is, it's the next step. So I kind of think the ground level for people is getting the reading where they connect with the loved one,
Yeah.
where they start to realize there's something after this.
It's kind of
And
like the bridge,
it is.
you know,
That's how
getting for
you get
somebody from
people
one
in.
side to the other. And then
Exactly.
it piques the curiosity, you know. So I really believe God strategically places people exactly like where we need to be to help other people.
Yep. And
So
I
we're
think
like signposts.
What?
We're like directional signals,
Yes,
a
yes, yes,
signpost for
yes,
people,
yes.
for the people that need help along the path. We're kind of like holding up the light.
and I connect to
That's pretty
that
cool.
and I connect to that part with what I do with the church. So that brings
Yeah.
people in on that level. But the work I really want to get into, and the stuff reason I wanted to do the show is really like, what comes next? Like what's the reality of it? What is this life after death really about? What is our soul really about? What's the bigger picture? And I really want to get people to stop just getting the answers that they get from other people and to really start thinking about it. One of the big questions I have is, as mediums we talk about this life beyond death, but I'm pretty convinced that that's not the only life after death, that there's other realities beyond that, and it's not just life and afterlife. I think there's much more
Dimensions and
Well, yeah,
multi-dimensions.
exactly.
multiverse, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
and I think for me it's like, wow, there's so much out there to explore, and so I don't want to get stuck on the ground level with you. And I know that sounds insulting.
no,
and
no, no.
no.
Some people, I know exactly what you're saying.
You know?
Some people, like, this is what they want to do
Yeah.
at a certain level, and they stop and they're happy with that. I have similar feelings to you. Like, I've kind of morphed my development in from, doing readings and stuff, and then book. I'm more like a researcher now, and I
Yeah,
love
absolutely.
to research
Me
things
too.
and to seek out the new answers.
We like to dive deeper, and I think that's important. I think that's part of the process. Is we don't take things, for what it is. It's like now we want to explore and go deeper, and I think that's the reason why I think we're all doing this, to really kind of open up the whole God energy, the Jesus energy,
it's so needed because
Oh, yeah.
there's so many people that are coming in on the ground level, but they don't know where to go next. They don't know what the next step is. And for me, it's like, well, let's discuss it. I can't tell you what the next step is, but I can talk to you about it for hours.
And I have to say, from my religious education and my upbringing, it came to a point where it maxed for me. And I had so many questions that nobody could answer because everybody was fine with just what they were given. And I think that's what really led me into the depression too, because I had so many questions that weren't answered, and I felt like it was separating me farther and farther away from this space that I wanted to be in, and I was completely lost, So I think having things like this that open up, questions and
Oh, yeah.
guidance and again, we talk often about, people asking us questions, giving us, what are your questions? Like if you're not getting this from your mentors and teachers in your religious groups, what questions do you have that we can...
And that's, not to interrupt you, but that's why we ask, at the end of the show every night is like, ask us your questions on our YouTube channel so we can go into some of these things. When I give readings, and I've always done this, I always ask, when I'm talking to the person on the other side, certain questions and stuff. And sometimes I've seen they've actually turned and asked someone if they can answer that. So there is kind of a interview process going on the other side, because I'm always trying to find out different pieces of the puzzle. Sometimes they'll give it to me, sometimes they won't.
They're very good about that, limiting information.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I'm like, a curious
Tell me more,
person.
tell me
So
more.
I get little pieces here, little pieces there, little pieces there. I start putting them together. I put them together in my books. Or we talk about them on here, through our experiences that, we learn from doing the mediumship. So we're using the mediumship not only to help the person, but I'm using it as a research tool.
Absolutely.
So that I can
Exploration.
help people farther on down the line. Like I have like a few readings that I did for people that have lost children where information's come through that I've never heard before about the whole procedure and things that'll be in my new book, for people that have lost children. And I've actually told the mother or something when I'm doing it, I'm like, if I forget after the reading, remind me of what we just said, because I want to put that in a book that I'm going to be doing in a year or two. So it's the research going on while we're doing the mediumship. I'm like you, Nathan. I want to look at the bigger picture and more growing to see if we can, because with that information we can give it out to people and hopefully help more people.
And keep people from getting stuck again. You know, it's like once they start this growth on the spiritual journey, if there's not something new to give them, if there's not some new piece that gives them that aha moment, they're going to get stuck again. And then they're either going to fall away from it, or it just won't bring them the satisfaction and joy.
And I think this is that up and down process. It's like now I'm feeling depleted and drained. And I have to say, I was just saying earlier how I was feeling stuck. I was feeling challenged. I was having identity issues. And for me,
Because you want more.
Yeah, and it gives me time to take a step back and reevaluate and, you know, okay, let me go deeper in and explore and research and saying, because I have to say, as mediums and we see a lot of people and we see patterns, right? We see certain behaviors or certain experiences and what happens from it. And so I pay attention to all that and human behavior and, okay, people have these experiences and this is what happens in their life, you know? So I learn from that and I shift and change my own life for it, you know, but there comes a point when, you know, you want to share that so people are saying, hey, you know what? I went through that too. And, you know, I had that same experience as you did and you are right on track, you know, and you keep going. You know, I know it's hard right now, but, you know, this is exactly where you need to be. Even though it's painful, it's going to get you to the next step. You know?
Well, a lot of times when we're on these paths, we don't necessarily know where we're going, but we keep moving forward. And I think, you know, eventually we'll when we get there, we'll know if that, you know, makes sense. But and I think that's in your circumstance now, that you're continually to grow. There's more out there. There's more to learn.
And I could sit and stay in this space, but there's something inside of me saying there's more. And it's not like being on TV more, it's not more money more, there's information more, right? Yeah. There's another step. I know it's there, right? And so it's going inner, making the adjustments. But everybody goes through this process. It's just part of the process of growth and being conscious and living this spiritual life.
Exactly. And some people are happy.
I mean, even not spiritual, just.
And some people are happy where they are at a certain level, which is fine. But like through my career, you know, like I stopped doing the parties or, you know, certain things because I wanted to do more research and things like that, because I know there's more out there. And so you just kind of want to keep pushing the envelope to find out.
And I think that's exactly how this show came about. You know, I was kind of bored with what I was doing, and I kind of just went into meditation and I said, what's next for me? Like, what can I explore? And then you came up. I thought of you and I reached out, and Joe had reached out, and here we are. So again, this is that part of listening to the process. Now, I had a choice in that moment. I could have said, nah, he's probably not doing anything, and not reached out. Yeah. Or I trusted that little bit of information, just your name, and I acted upon it, and then one thing leads to another. So these are all these baby steps that allows us to grow and shift and change, which I believe brings us closer to that unconditional love vibration, because for me it's almost addicting. Like, I want to be in that space, I want to be in that energy, I want to be in that joy, in that
and you're willing
abundance.
to take a risk.
Totally. Yep.
To take that step to move forward and to see where it brings us, what we can learn to share to help other people. And I remember sitting in circles, and when we say a circle, it's a development circle. When we get back to time we spent working on our skills to you know, when information comes through the other side, how we can pick it up easier and faster and things like that. And some people sit in circles for years and practice their skills. And I got to a certain point where a lot of people I was sitting with, I was like, listen, you guys are all great mediums. Why aren't you out there helping people? And I kind of broke away from the circles, and I was like, listen, it's time to do and not just sit here and talk about it. They were comfortable doing it among their friends and stuff. And I'm like, no, this is it. You guys are good. You guys need to get out and help people. And that's when I started getting out and doing it, you know, in the public.
And I think this is how we become an inspiration. You know, everybody has that ability to take action. You know, it's funny, you know, I've had people tell me, you know, fairly recently, you're such an inspiration. You're doing so many great things. And I kind of sit back sometimes and I'm like, I feel like I'm struggling. I feel like my nose is just above the waterline, you know? So you don't realize, like, everything we do, and I think that's that part of being teachers, and I think everybody has the ability to inspire. Everybody has the ability to be a mentor and a teacher and to help people in some way as they're living their passion and their joy abundantly.
Yeah, you just have to keep moving forward, and even through doubt, you have to have faith.
Well, step into the flow. Like I always like to think of God as an energy. You know, God is the energy that's pushing you forward, and the only time you struggle is when you try to stand still because you're fighting against the current. But when you keep moving forward, it's like there's momentum, you know, and that's what I think. I mean, if I look back, you know, when I first got into this, I started going to a spiritualist church, and then I started taking all the classes, and then me and a few friends did have our business. We had people would come and pay, and they'd sit and get healings and readings kind of all together, and we did that for a little bit. You know, and then I learned the trance channeling mediumship, and then through that I ended up doing the meditations at church. And from the meditations, I started getting through a lot of this like next step information that really excited me, you know. And then I kind of said, oh, I want to talk about this more. I want to do more with this, and that's what, you know, led to this show too. But you can see the momentum, and you can see how you kept pushing forward.
But I think it's important to mention too that within all those changes, wasn't there a respite period, a place that you paused and kind of went in? I think that's important too, because sometimes people want to go, 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 go. They don't realize that the rest period, the replenishment, the rejuvenation, or the sadness and the feeling that separate space kind of propels people forward. So I've been feeling that being in this yucky space, I've been feeling a little negative, but now that I see that, okay, now it's propelling me forward into something else, you know. So I think people also need to understand that they're going to go to that place where like nothing's happening and they're frustrated, and that's like right before the next step happens.
And that's where you have to do the self-work to prepare yourself for the next step.
And that's just, you know, we don't mean just in mediumship or the things we do. That's in everyday life.
Absolutely.
You know, some people, if you're feeling uncomfortable what you're doing, that you're stuck or something like that, you're getting a sign, a message, you know, that
but people are afraid to change.
Exactly. But that's their little kick in the pants to say, that's it. This is your time to do it, because you can't sleep at night. You keep thinking about stuff. What's going on? And it's because you've been just waiting on this moment, and you're afraid to take the leap of faith.
Yep. And I definitely think that just go with it. You know, just you get the inspiration, you act on it, you get to the point where you need to stop, and then you go within and you say, all right, what do I need to do for myself? And it's balancing, you know, the journey and the path that you're going on, and where your own development with yourself and your self-love and who you are alongside of it, because they have to coincide. One can't get too far ahead of the other. You know, that there's that connection. And, you know, all the times that you paused, or that I paused, it's like you did the self-work and you vibrationally get yourself to the point where now you're matching where the spiritual aspects or energy was, or work energy, whatever you want to call it. And so now they can kind of both go forward again until one gets stuck, and then you put your focus there on the part that's stuck so that they both can go forward.
Absolutely.
That's interesting, yeah. It's kind of like a slinky. One goes forward and then the other one catches up.
Yep, exactly. And you can't have judgment about both being there together, because when they're both there together, guess what? It's not moving anymore. You know what I mean?
That's
and I have
true.
to say, I think a big part of our work as intuitives and helping people spiritually is validating people's intuitions and teaching them about trusting their gut and their intuition. So I have to say, a lot of the spiritual guidance that I get, it's not anything that they don't already know on some level, but what it does is it validates their own intuition, and they're inspired to say, hey, I'm doing it.
Yes.
I get it. So to have a perfect stranger say, hey, I'm feeling this and I'm getting this and I see this and this guidance, and they're like, oh my gosh, I've been thinking about that for months, right? And again, that's the fuel that gets them to the next step. So we're kind of like shining a light on what they already know, and I think this is the healthy part of the work that we do, is we're not telling people what to do. we're not making decisions for them. We're shining a light on what they already know and teaching them how to use their own emotional guidance system. And I think that's the joy, the people that unfold and they open up like a flower and their lives shift and change and grow from this
At any
connection
level,
of this experience.
Yeah, because a lot of it's not rocket science. It's kind of like, I tell people like, you have an intuition. You've used your intuition before. Yeah, oh yeah, I have. I said, well, that's the whole beginning of it. Once you learn to tune into that more often and trust it, I said, you're on your path. That's like you've just gotten in the car and put your foot on the gas.
And I think so many people are like walking in the dark, like they just not knowing where to go. And I think our work is really kind of shining a light, and I think this is why it's so beautiful about teaching people to always consider the source. Consider where you're getting the information. Is the person that you're getting information balanced in their own life? Are they taking care of themselves? Are they healthy? Are they energetically fulfilled? I mean, it's part of the process when you work with other people. I mean, they tell psychologists and psychotherapists in school, you should see a psychologist or psychotherapist yourself to keep and maintain that healthy balance, So I think this is the importance of any type of field of work is that you've got to bring it all back to yourself and your connection with that unconditional love vibration.
So yeah, self-work, self-love.
You can't get away from it.
And I like to look at it as, we're not shining a light on the people, we're reflecting the light back.
True, yeah.
Because it's just that, if you can't, what you see in other people is usually a reflection of what's
Absolutely.
in you. What you see in yourself. And so when they reach out and they say something and then you give them a reading and all of a sudden like, oh my God, like that, I was thinking about that. It's
resonates.
Yeah, you're giving their truth back to them. So now they can see it, whereas before they couldn't really see it.
Yeah, because they
That's
don't trust
beautiful.
themselves. They don't trust what they're getting. They want to hear it from someone else. And we're all guilty of that. How many times, mediums love, sometimes you get a reading, people are like, oh, you got a reading? It's like, yeah, mediums like readings.
I love
readings.
them.
It's like, because we don't get them that often. It's like,
Yeah.
and it's the same stuff. It's like, yeah, I knew that.
Yeah.
Like, again, it's like, yeah, I know that. My spirit guide told me that. I just wanted to hear it from someone else.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's just that reassurance that, okay, that's what I thought.
And what you were saying goes back to why we're all connected. For some reason, we have the ability to guide each other, to help each other, to have this this energy that supports people. And I think that's the greatest teachers, right? That's the greatest mentors, and saying, hey, this is what's happening, and my joy is reflection to you for where you are going and what you deserve and what that space that it is. So what a beautiful thing that I continue to live my life in joy and abundance and peace and happiness as much as I can. And then it's like a domino effect, right? It's like one goes down and then it just keeps rippling from there.
The flow.
Yeah. And it comes back to that Christ energy.
Yeah.
What made Jesus powerful was not that he walked on water and did all these things. It was that he told people, like, look, I'm the Son of God, but you're my brothers and sisters, so you're the children of God. He didn't want people looking at him as the king. And that's where I think a lot of the problems with religion has come from, is where they want to put him on a pedestal. And I always say to people, look, when you look at Jesus, and this is my opinion, when you look at Jesus as anything more than a person like you or me, you do a disservice to everything he did.
Absolutely.
Because you're saying that he started out on a pedestal and you're not there, so you can't do what he did because you're not there. And it's like, I'm pretty sure he would call bull on that.
Absolutely.
Isn't there a scene like in Raiders of the Lost Ark when he finally gets in, Harrison Ford gets in there to find the chalice, and there's like 15 of them, and they're all glowing and gold and stuff, and he goes, and if he picked the wrong one, he's going to get his head cut off or something, and he's like, which one would Jesus, God, which chalice would be his? And it hits him, and he goes, the wooden one. And there was like this little old wooden one
Yep.
among all these gold and diamond ones. And it was the right one, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely.
So I think that's we can take that as an example for all of us, not to put love on a pedestal, but use it in our everyday lives
and
for
see
ourselves.
people as better than or less than. We're all having experiences, and we're all here to teach each other, good, bad, or indifferent.
And the beauty's in the mundane, the beauty's in the everyday life, and it's in the
Exactly.
seeing God in all those aspects. Like it's easy to see, beauty and gold and silver and diamonds and stuff like those other cups, but when you see it in that wood, that wooden cup, that small cup, when you can look at and see like, that's a cup fit for God.
Right. That's it. I mean, that's it in a nutshell. Like, a kid giving a donation to a Salvation Army thing or something, or someone helping someone across the street or something. That's it. That's the main thing. It's not the bling bling. And I think that's where people get confused, and organizations and religions get confused.
That's where we pull outside of ourselves, and this is the marketing industry, and
right,
they
the religious marketing
out.
industry.
They figured that out.
Yeah.
And they'll play on that.
And the more you hold on to that stuff, the more you stop the flow. The more you hold on
It
to something.
separates you. It will separate you.
Yeah.
I mean, I know
And
a lot
then
of
the credit card bills will go up, and the need to be bigger, better, stronger, faster comes up. And again, you get farther and farther away from truth, from authenticity.
But when you don't hold on to it and you just let it flow, if money comes in and you give it away to someone because you say, you know what, I don't need it right now, I'm okay. More is going to come in because you've opened that space. Vibrationally, you're not, I need to hold on to this because you're worried about it getting away, because you're going to manifest it getting away.
And you can't let some other individual or organization control how your connection
Think
with
and
your
feel and
God,
act,
or with your connection with your intuition. You can't let someone dictate that, through fear or through penalty. And I think a lot of people do that, and that can really rock people's world then when something happens in a tragedy. Or why did God do it? Because my church says, or my whatever says, God's a loving God, he wouldn't do that. So that creates a lot of problems there.
And I have to say, I believe, I'm grateful for the church that I grew up in. I'm grateful for the experience that I had, and to not take away from it at all. But at some point, I wanted to go further. I wanted to kind of dive deeper. So I led myself to kind of explore. So everybody has their place to start, and then, you kind of expand and grow from there.
That's the same thing with where we are. Spiritualist churches, all churches, all those places are going to get you to a certain point, but they always have to feed the masses.
Yeah.
So they're always going to be feeding kind of the ground level because that's their place, that's what they're needed for.
But I think people get stuck there.
Well, people don't know where to go next sometimes, or they don't want to go further, or
They're afraid to.
Yep, they're told they can't, depending on what the situation is. But it's, that's again, it comes down to the trust and just saying, all right, I'm ready to experience what comes next. Bring it to me, and I'm open to receive it.
And had I not left the law firm, I never would have had this experience that I'm having now. So again, because of that leap of faith, look how much better my life has gotten, So I think that's important for people to realize that, there always, when you get to that point of feeling like, okay, there's got to be something more, and it's okay to shift and change and grow, and that God will get you.
It's a great trip.
Yep,
Enjoy the ride.
that's right. The ride's all you got.
That's right. That's it. And people have to understand that.
Yeah.
It's the journey.
All right, everybody, thanks for coming, checking out what we have to say. I hope you got something out of it. Hope you enjoyed it. And, let us know what you think about the show. Keep coming back.
And don't forget to send in some questions. Write them right on Facebook, any of your comments, what you'd like us to talk about. It's very important that this becomes interactive. And we're also going to be taking it on the road sometime later on this fall. So stay with us.
And as you go out there and you learn and you shift and you grow, we want to remind you to always consider the source.